we're going to lose that moment.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. So what it was, we were just sitting there talking about, again, I see here, it's the Don't Hold Your Breath podcast, right? Because it's like, don't
hold your breath.
Don't hold your breath.
Don't hold your breath.
All right.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah. You can get pretty aggressive with these things.
Yeah, don't get too aggressive.
I haven't turned up to where I'm trying to mess with the sound where we can stop here for a second and then test it and listen to it and see what it sounds like. But because the one that we recorded with Marlon earlier was a little bit aggressive on the sound, it was a little bit grainy sounding.
Right. On that or
on this?
Okay.
So I guess this didn't really affect. It doesn't really affect much, does it?
No, even. So now I'm not hearing the flavor. I hear a little graininess.
Yeah, but it's the same there, right?
Yeah.
Same kind of graininess. Maybe we just turn the gain down. Maybe say a little less grainy like that. Is that better?
A little bit, yeah. Okay. Let's start it.
All right, so we get that, and then I don't think that even needs to be on, man. Honestly, we're gonna check it out in a second here, and then we'll just play this back and check it out.
Sure.
But yeah, no, he was just, we were just talking, and then I was like, and you can see in the beginning of that video, I was like, okay, record. Okay, what is it now? How do you? What were we talking about again?
Hey, break stride, man.
And then, like a minute later, I was like, "So, those headphones on." Oh wait, we're recording. It's happening. There you go.
Is this real audio?
Because I think he wants to do it. Like he's a fucking go getter, and so he wants to like go and continue and achieve and have the consistency and like push. But he's discovering over the last year that like it's rare. Nobody else is gonna fucking push. Who else is gonna show up? I mean, who's gonna carry the fucking boats, right?
Exactly.
Who's gonna carry the boats?
Exactly.
Who's gonna show up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. to go put out an 800-person catering, at a fucking offsite location? Aaron down. Right? He fucking showed up. It was me, him, Ivan. Ivan is fucking awesome, dude. He pushed the guy out.
Did they?
Basically, yeah. I mean, he went to go find a different place. He was going to have him go off. I was going to have him go off. But, it is what it is. That's also an internal thing. You can't put all the onus or all the blame on somebody else.
But there's some odds on really. There's some luxury in those situations. There's the found in federal.
There's great
reason why we're all in federal.
Well, we wouldn't be here right now.
Exactly.
We wouldn't be here.
Exactly. So I wouldn't have gained this knowledge, I wouldn't have gained this enlightenment had it not been for that.
Yeah.
Right? And even though we still learn some things from that.
Yeah.
Even though if he doesn't fully believe them, we do. But we were able to grab some messages and then utilize them.
That's the whole reason I went there, man. I mean, I was like, this is where this is the kind of place. What's being advertised here is very, what they call in Spanish, llamativo. It calls to you, right?
Right.
Llamados to calls. And llamativo is like callish or something like that. Right? Like it's like it calls you. So there's definitely something about the philosophy, the ideals that were out there on the front of that offer that was like, that's what we fucking want to do.
What's almost crazy? It's right. We had these ideas, these values that these people came up with, and they tried to push on. So they didn't even grasp that themselves, but we did, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the good part, right?
No, you're right. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't. And it wasn't really enacted, right? There's a lot of stuff that wasn't, and it's hard. You can't fault anyone for that, but there's a lot of stuff that just wasn't done, but it was said.
Right. But who's doing?
We're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I didn't always hold to all of those values. There's definitely times when I've fallen off of those values during the time that I was there and before and after.
Sure.
And there's always going to be, but consistency is important. I think consistency is one of those things that's, I don't know if it's on this fat, it's on this false. And I wrote down some core values thinking about like the entrepreneurial growth that we're going through right now. You and me, Marlon, right? All these companies that are kind of like starting to bubble up and grow. And I've gone through these phases before where it's like, okay, my mentor that that backed us for taco months, right? And helped me get out of a deep dark by putting me in that food truck and making me fucking work, you know? But those type of like times where we're generating ideas and he had some idea about a soup shop or like you could do lo mein cart or something. They call it the wet noodle. Can you imagine like a little cart in downtown, in Midtown, when you come out of a nightclub that's called the wet noodle? And you just go, first they're going to give you a wet noodle, maybe you can buy see it yourself. Well,
I'm the prayer. And it begins.
There we go. First day of the rest of our lives.
That looks so official.
Listen.
Oh, fuck it. That's why.
why?
You know what? All the equipment in the where you want me to try to get it without the butter board.
I think probably put all of it in there.
Yeah,
so you could
yeah,
see it.
as much as you can.
We're official.
So, yeah.
It's an official podcast.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, let's take a little bit. There we go.
Hello,
I'm in here when you're in.
okay, we're still recording. That's good. Yeah, some of this stuff we'll just have to edit some lines of it out, I guess.
Well, that's what it's all about.
Put it back together, but like, yeah, that's the whole point for me with like the hold your breath, don't hold your breath. It don't matter if it's hold your breath or don't hold your breath. What matters is that you're fucking breathing. What kind of message? If you're fucking breathing, and like the reason why it's don't hold your breath is because if you hold your breath, you stopped.
Yeah.
Don't fucking stop. Go, do, make something happen. Okay, breathe. Well, yeah, fucking breathing. Right.
Yeah, that's like an essence of life, right? It's all about breathing, man, because you look into Wim Hof and stuff like that. Yeah, looking at that, and you can actually be supernatural just by
Yes.
you not be controlling your breath.
And there's two ways of looking at what you just said, too.
Of course.
You can be super natural. Like you can be very natural.
It's a natural thing to do.
You can also be supernatural.
It'd be like a super version of that.
Yeah, and like go really into different levels of capability. Well, I think it's good. Like I think it's excellent,
right?
Yeah, let's listen to one real quick and see where we're at on the sound, so we don't go for an hour and then like. All right, let's check. So yeah, you're talking about don't hold your breath missions.
Yeah. But I want us to stick with the plan of the day, right?
Yeah.
Spreading information. People need to be informed.
Yeah, for sure. Sharing information.
Right, because at heart I am that anti-propagandist and seeker of truth. And that's going to kind of tie everything into it, right? You know, so if it was to help the vaccine injury, we do an episode on that, right?
Yeah.
We're spreading information, spreading awareness. You know, maybe even organizing communities, you know.
Like going out into the community and actually going like
No. Just kind of informing people and, you know, kind of laying out ways that we can go about organizing as things of that nature, right? Because we don't know where the government's going. With all this new technological advancements and shit like that, you know, it could go into a very scary, dark place.
I know somebody is backing out of
been-
the election.
Didn't see that one coming. Yeah, but it was that second text that kind of perked me up a little bit. We all saw this coming, man. This should have happened.
What, that he's going to back Kamala?
Yeah.
Because the reports before that was that he is not supporting Kamala,
Yeah.
which I agree with, and I completely understand why you wouldn't. Wish she was a DEI hire straight off the rip. She serves no purpose whatsoever. She has no business being anywhere near the White House. You know, she was a prosecutor attorney before.
I know she was
For
a
this.
prostitute.
Yep. I was going to tie that together. You know,
Yeah. She charges extra for that.
a prosecuting prostitute.
The prostituting attorney charges a little bit extra, I think, for time.
Yeah. Well, for sure. You know, that's how, you know, a little bit extra is basically getting into the White House.
So I guess that's how she go through it.
I mean, how else did she get there? But
Because she played the fucking game. And it's like it's been. But I think that game has run its course, really. Honestly, I think that we're at a point now where I don't know if you follow James Lindsay on X, like he got pretty kind of like got his panties in a bunch a little bit. But I think with somewhat of a good reason, because some of the people are going haywire. And it's the same thing that he was warning about 6 months ago that he was like, all these people running around going Christ is king and talking about Christian nationalism being a good thing. You have to watch out for them, because that is the seed of fascism, which is the same tyrannical statist philosophy, statist political system, which means like you're worshiping the state. State is the king instead of the individual sovereignty being the thing, right? Do we want individual empowerment, individual sovereignty,
freedom?
That's what you're talking about with sharing information, empowering people with information, empowering people with inspiration. And that's what we do as a podcast. That's what all the podcasts out there that we watch that have inspired us to into motion to actually do this. They're just spreading. It's like you're going to change the entire world if you get up and do the right thing.
Right.
So, and that's actually possible. That's not just some cheesy movie fucking line, right? That's actually possible. But if you go down the rabbit hole of like, you have to act this way because the state tells you to act this way, and you like, we're a Christian nation, we might as well be a Muslim nation, or we might as well be any other doctrine and dogma as a nation. And the whole purpose of the First Amendment is that we can practice religion how we choose, right?
Right.
We can believe what we choose, and we can speak how we choose. And we can have that conversation, right? Now we can have a nuanced conversation because there's a First Amendment. But if you start going down that line of these Amber Rose doesn't belong in the conservative party because she's a prostitute, well, let he who is without sin cast the first stone, right? That's from somewhere in the Bible. I'm not a biblical scholar, but we were talking about the Bible with Marlon earlier today, and like, it's a very important book in that it points you in the right direction. Right? It points you towards a valid aim. So, I think that's where we can help people. I think coming back to your idea of missions and making sure that we're helping people. And if we're going to talk about vaccine injuries, talk about vaccine injuries. But I think we need to have the podcast needs to be organized in a way that it's like, this episode's going to be about this.
Yes.
Or about these
Yes.
5 things or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of like
direction.
Yeah, where we have some, and I don't know.
We'll have a topic. We'll have a topic each day, and that's what we'll discuss, and that's what we'll spread information about.
There you go.
Like that. But like, this is interesting too with that whole Christianity thing. It's a psyop at the end of the day. But this just so happens to be it's something that this country was founded on.
No, it wasn't.
Was it not?
It wasn't founded on Christianity.
Then why is it so prevalent within everything from...
The documents say God, a creator, and those type of things, but Christianity is not the only religion that uses that nomenclature.
So when did we come up with the Pledge of Allegiance?
The country was founded by Freemasons.
Is this a fact?
Yeah, these were all Freemasons. And some of them they all believe in a higher power, because Freemasons, as part of their religion, have to be in a higher power. But it can be Christian, it can be Muslim, it can be Buddhist, it can be the universe, it can be Joe Dispenza's, energy, focus. You don't have to call it the book of Christ, and you don't have to call it the book of Muhammad, and you don't have to call it the Torah or any of the other, right? You don't have to practice Kabbalah to be part of that club. The whole purpose of the First Amendment is the essence of the First Amendment is sort of part of the essence of Freemasonry as an organization. And Freemasonry was founded as an organization of good men taking other men and making them into good men. So
what's so bad about that?
Nothing. What's bad about any system that becomes corrupted is that people get in and corrupt it, right? They get in and corrupt it via selfishness, basically. And so when you put service before self, and when you actually, this is why, it's God, family, country, So you have to serve God first, and then you serve those around you who take care of those who take care of you. And then you take care of the nation or the community. That's a community, a group of families. But it's God, which is the individual. That's your relationship with divinity. And you can call it whatever name you want. But in my personal belief, I think if you start putting names on it, is when it loses its meaning. That's why I like that book, The Church of the Subgenius, because it makes fun of everyone and every religion. It's like you're all just worshiping J.R. Bob Dobbs. You just picked some dude out of the sky and was like, yeah, we're just going to worship this guy.
Is that what happened?
Apparently. I think historically. Allegedly. I think if you look at history and religion and the growth of religion in history.
Because this goes back some time.
Hebrews is shit a couple thousand years ago.
Yeah, well, I think there's a metaphysical, that meaning there's like a supra physical world. There's a realm that we can't see with our five base.
Like what?
Something that quantum physics maybe is starting to point to. But there's a
Do you believe in quantum physics?
There's a metaphysical world, and then there's physical world, and then there's the history that we know that's sort of like there's the scientific stuff that you can look at, and you know that if I grab this pen and I drop it, it's gonna fall on the ground. Like, oh look, it fell on the ground. No, there wasn't like some magical force that like changed and suddenly it flew around the room. There's certain things that are true, right? Gravity is true. So there's certain physical forces in the world that exist. And that example of like the 1 × 1 = 1 versus 1 × 1 = 2. That's more to me more of a semantic argument.
I didn't say it equals 2. I said it doesn't equal 1.
No, but Terrence Howard said it equals 2. So and I think he's making a semantic argument, and I think that argument sort of makes sense in that like he's talking about actions, it seems like. But I mean, we're getting down a different rabbit hole. I was talking about freedom.
Why was in that direction?
And I'm talking about yeah, but whatever. We're still gonna wander. I'm gonna wander that way for sure because my mind goes in all different directions like that. But
yeah, but we'll be
to rein it back in. Speaking about the First Amendment and speaking about Freemasonry versus being based on Christianity, and then going to the Republican Party, it doesn't. You can sit here and spout off how pious and holy that you think you are as a Republican, Candace Owens, but that's not what that party has ever stood for. The Republican Party is just as corrupt, just as Byzantine and broken down as the Democratic Party. And all this has to do with is more like what Solzhenitsyn says, which is that the line between good and evil runs between the heart of every person, every man. So everyone has both sides in them, and you have to make the choice to be able to go one way or the other. And eventually, everything has a cycle. Some your new stuff, your new toy, your new car, whatever, it's gonna eventually start to wear out, and then you're gonna have to repair it and maintain it, or you're going to have to build a new one. And the same thing is true of political systems. And when we have a political system that was created by guys who understood high concepts that are really lined out in a lot of the Masonic teachings, I mean, they had a very high level understanding of sort of like an idealistic way of organizing a community, and they did their best to preserve that on paper and in a system of governance. And after a while, it starts to, it needs some oil here and there. And I don't think that any of those founding fathers would back up anyone who said, if you're not Christian, you don't belong in my country. That's, if you want to break it up into parties and you want to fragment the whole society into a bunch of different, fragmented pieces, but we're supposed to be one nation under God, indivisible, right? That doesn't mean one nation of Christ.
Right.
That doesn't mean one nation under the God of Allah or
one nation under the higher power.
It means one nation under what they call the grand geometer, the guy who was the geometric genius, the architect that created this universe,
We don't know there's a power higher than ourselves.
There's some power higher than ourselves. We don't all know that, but that is...
Well, I said we, you and me.
Correct. And that's the prerequisite for, I think that's what the founders were saying, is that's the prerequisite for a self-governing society. one of the prerequisites to be able to self-govern is that you have to
Basically what the First Amendment tells us. You have the freedom to believe in what you want to believe.
Right, but you have to believe in something that's higher than yourself.
Yeah.
So if you don't, then you're left. But that's really where they start going down the wrong path, I think, is where the communists and the leftists start denying that they start going down a path of hubris, which means I think I'm a god, right? Which is like a famous George Soros.
I think it's more so they feel better than others. So in a way, kind of portraying themselves as a higher power somewhat. If you're better than others, then you're a higher power than whom you think you're better than.
Yeah, they think they're better than everyone.
Yeah, they think we're idiots. They think we're dumb because, they spend all their time spreading this misinformation, disinformation, propaganda to purposefully make us idiots.
I'm not going to deny that I think that a lot of them are incredibly stupid people.
Right. For just thinking that they're better than others.
Just for
Or others don't.
Just for not having the ability to understand like hypothetical logic. Like they don't understand. Tim Pool uses the example all the time of if you ask someone, how would you feel if you didn't have breakfast yesterday?
Yeah.
And they go like,
The intelligent person or
had breakfast yesterday.
Right.
But the
No.
intelligent
What if you didn't?
go like,
But I did.
but I did.
But what if you didn't? Let's say you did not.
Let's say you did.
I can't because I had breakfast.
So-
You don't get it, bro.
I think that's considered the ability to understand conditional hypotheticals. And if a person doesn't have the ability to understand conditional hypotheticals, then it's very difficult to have a conversation.
True.
It's very difficult to plan with that person,
Sure.
right? Because they don't understand what might happen or what might not happen. They think that this pen is going to float if I drop it. Like, I don't know, maybe, because it's all relative, man. Like, no, like drop some more acid and go back to your fucking, party over there and like have a good time, and we'll just continue to fight for your freedom. I was that guy at the party before. I didn't understand.
Yeah, we've all been there.
At a cost,
We've all been there.
but there they are. And I think that some of them are lacking intelligence. Some of them are stupid, meaning that they're incapable. Their brain is incapable of learning even after repeated efforts. And which I'm stupid in some things. Yeah, like I can repeat and repeat and repeat the same stuff, and I'm pretty fucking stupid at it sometimes. So everyone has things they're good at and things they're not good at. Those people might be great artists or something. They might be great at like, I don't know, like painting the fucking next Mona Lisa. That they might be great at being somebody's limo driver or something. I don't know. But they're not good at understanding the importance of how a political system needs to be set up and how your social structures need to be set up. You don't need to just
So what do you mean by
you don't need to just take all the taxes from everybody and then redistribute all the wealth to everyone to make everyone equal and make life fair for everyone. It doesn't work that way. That creates horror and terror. Every time they've tried it.
right?
The best way to redistribute wealth is via the natural system of meritocracy. Wealth is distributed to those who merit the wealth. If you don't bring value to the table, you don't get value from the table. It's not to each according to his ability, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs, which is the Marxists. That's like just whatever everyone can make, they should just make it, and whatever everyone needs, just take it. That's bullshit. It doesn't fucking work. Whatever you need, you need to make that. If you need something, you need to make it. You can't just take it. You have to do the work. So I don't know where do we get off on that tangent?
I don't know, but let's keep going. I've been wondering this a lot lately. What is politics really? What is this politics? And is it necessary?
Well, I mean, I think a definition of politics politics has to do with who controls violence, like who controls force. Politics is who has power or force.
So is that necessary to run
Yeah.
a civilization in a country?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I mean, is it necessary to like have a house?
But is that so? But that's like,
Is it necessary to have a house?
Not
If you just live out you can just live outside in the middle of the woods.
it's necessary for certain reasons.
What happens? Okay, what reasons?
Well, you're gonna want a roof over your head.
Why?
But does that have to be a house?
Why? Why do you need a roof over your head? Why do you need shelter?
Protect yourself from the elements.
Protection.
Have
So from what? From the elements, right? So an element of nature being like a flood, right? Tidal wave. Those are elements of nature. Another element of nature, or
But it's also an element of something that's greater than yourself.
yeah, it's greater than yourself.
Something that you have no control over, and something that you have no
Like a barbarian horde,
right. But there's
like a bunch of wild people who came from the next country.
yeah, but there's still there's ways to go about that.
So
There's no ways to go and battle a tidal wave, right? You either protect yourself or you get wiped out from it, right? These are kind of in different realms almost,
Yeah,
right?
they
It
are.
applies to some, but it doesn't apply to
But
at all.
I'm just trying to use the analogy so that you
right.
get,
Well, what do we say? We want to
need-
we want to
politics.
for protection. For protection from forces that you cannot, you have no control over whatsoever. Right now, with politics, we're supposed to have control over it, right? But we don't. But we're supposed to. That's the way it works,
I
right?
don't know. Back up.
Beep, beep, beep.
You have control over how the flood or the tidal wave affects you,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And so politics is a system of control over how the barbarian hordes affect you.
But is that the only system of control?
Yeah.
There's no other options. We just need somebody to protect us from these barbarians.
We need swords. So we need to know how to use them. So we need force.
So we need the government for that.
You need to have
We need we need politicians for that.
no, but you need to have an agreed upon standard of response.
So it takes politicians
critical response level.
to come up with that.
No. Those are politicians. The people who decide that. When are we going to use force to defend ourselves? Those are politicians. That's what politics means.
Yeah, but so what if there was no politics in the world though? Do you see?
There would be no humans. I mean, what are you talking about?
So politics is what makes humans.
No, humans are what makes politics.
Right.
But so it has to be that way.
No, it just is that way. I mean, it doesn't have to be. You could just like not live in the world, I guess. I guess you could live in outer space or something. But I think this you're still
So the only way to make the world go round is through politics.
no. I don't think that it's making anything happen. I think that it is a part of the world.
Like it's a part of the world
like-
because it's been
you're
our system for
It's like
so
you're
long.
saying, like the only way to make honey is to have bees. Like, yeah, I mean,
But what I said, so I'm saying the only way to make the
So
world
fucked
the
up.
only way to make the world go round is
Or-
politics,
or-
right?
are we going to talk into the microphone?
Yeah.
Or
I don't know. I'm going
or
back and
off
forth.
the microphone?
Hey, it's good to go back and forth, right? Because we're going to see a little bit of the time where we weren't. We're going to see a little bit of time where we were, right? So now we have
okay, let's see. We're 22 minutes. You know who else sounds like Kermit the Frog?
these nuts.
Both of them. Yeah. Jordan Peterson.
Shout out to our boy.
The motherfucker sounds just like. It's great because I don't feel so stupid because I fucking sound like.
You sound like Jordan Peterson, bro. That's not so bad.
That's
at
what I'm
all.
trying to tell myself. Our little fucking display area back there of some Cast Brew coffee. Shout out to Tim Cast and
Tim Cass, heyo.
Ian Crossland's Graphene Dream. We got some Rise with Roberto Jr., Whole Bean, and the Prime Time with Alex Stein. That is a double caffeine blend, which is why that bag is open.
And that's why it's not that good.
Almost empty. What are you talking about? It's fucking fantastic. Nobody said it wasn't that good.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah.
I had heard differently.
I might be a little bit of a like coffee snob, but I need to try the Graphene Dream, and it's just that one's a little bit strong. It's a little bit like
Is it?
if for
I
me
thought it was
that,
supposed to be like lowest.
no, the Prime Time with Alex,
Yeah.
the Prime Time with Alex Stein,
That makes sense.
Prime
Just
Time grind.
look at Alex Stein.
Yeah, it is. It's extreme. It's
Yeah.
very fucking.
He's a high energy individual.
It's a fucking Alex. Stein.
High energy individual. That's what you get for sure.
Is that level better? Sound better? Or you want more? You want more like this?
I love it like that.
I like it like that. All right. All right, well, here we are back again, holding our breath again.
Don't do it. I think you'll die.
I think I did. Been there, done that. I don't know where to put my
Back at it again, bitches.
Hell yeah. So, what were we talking about before?
Who you
We can
voting
go
for?
back and listen to the next thing. I'm fucking voting for Kamala Harris. Yeah,
Prostitutes need love too.
prostitutes need love too. I'm a big Cardi B fan, so it's like I might as well have one in charge of the country.
It's worth
I
a
think
shot.
Biden just announced that he stepped down, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I got the text message from our boy Will there, but
Yeah.
I did not.
I didn't fact check it.
I didn't fact check it. I just saw his standard meme of Joe Rogan like this checking his phone. Shit.
Right, first it's like, is Joe Rogan texting me right now?
Really? Yeah, Joe, chill, man. Come on,
I mean, I guess our boy Will is a little too lazy just to
make a new meme
or send us the text directly, right? He has to do it on his notifications, on his cover screen.
Yeah, like send the link to oh, that's what it is. That's his
Yeah, he's just sending it over. It's lazy. Straight lazy, man. Yeah. Boom, screenshot, let me send it.
Now I understand.
That's why I look at Joe Rogan every time news breaks.
Yeah.
It's good. He means well.
He does. Will means well.
Beautiful, bro.
Yeah.
That was awesome, man.
This is the way.
There it is. Who
are you voting for?
I wanted to vote for Biden, but that's fucking out the window. So I'm gonna go with the best option.
Yeah.
Right. Which I'm still hoping that Hillary's gonna jump into this.
High school janitor.
I'm really hoping that Hillary jumps into it, and then we get a little cat fight. All right, between Hillary and Kamala. May the best thing win. Cage match style.
Yeah, thing thong. Them thing is finna have a thong off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this is a little misdirection.
I thought it was gonna be Hillary. Like from the get go. Yeah,
don't fall for this. Don't fall for this new breaking information. You know how it goes.
No, I think even a year ago I was like, this fucking guy is falling apart.
You got to have a rematch.
Like Rogan. I mean, Joe Biden. Sorry, is completely like he's been falling apart forever.
Yeah,
it's like he wasn't even 100% in the 2020 debates and whatever. So he was like, 2 years in. Shit, what? January, like 6 months in, Russia's invading Ukraine.
Yep.
So we like all looked at each other and were like, oh, big surprise. Like I think at that time I was still in Lima. I don't think Brandy had they hadn't even opened up flights to leave Peru yet. And so we were just hanging out. We would go to friends' houses and go get in the pool and just drink and like just having a good time. So I'm sure when we saw that news, we were just like, go figure.
Sucks for Ukraine.
Called that. Like we knew it was like as soon as he gets in office by whatever manner that they've fucking got him into office.
We know how they got him into office.
It was like, yeah, well, we know how that worked. And now we know what's going to happen next, which is not going to be anything good for the world. No. And so when is the next war going to start? Because there have been warmongers for shit. These are this is the most crazy thing for me going back to being, in high school and watching George H.W. Bush come on the screen while I was watching David Letterman and say like, this aggression will not stand, we're going to go into start the Operation Desert Storm. Operation Desert Shield was the first one, right? Operation Desert Shield and then Operation Desert Storm. And then we're in Kuwait and now we're in Iraq and then,
Afghanistan.
Next thing you know, we're in Afghanistan and we're Taliban's blowing shit up in the United States. And like, there's just all kinds of shit starts going downhill because it was and has been. I mean, I guess Vietnam ended and then the Cold War. Once the Cold War ended, they were like, well, this sucks. We're going to have to figure out how to start this back up again. So we had that good time after the Cold War, between Reagan and Bush. Bush 1 comes in and goes, let's start some wars up again. And the ironic part for me looking at it now is that, George Herbert Walker being as Republican as they come, right, was the warmonger. And now when I grew up during the time when it was like the other side, the Democrats were all like the peace loving, right? Like stop the war, get out of the war. We don't want to be in there just fighting over oil. And like, this is all about money and like greed and
power,
corporate interests and power. And the people who were supposed to be against that were the people who put fucking Obama bin Laden in office. Obama, Hussein, Barack Obama. Fuck that. That guy was a warmonger just like the rest of them. Just like the rest of them. And, you know, maybe a better orator. Like,
but is it really the president of the United States of America that gets us into these wars, or is it from the other powers that be?
I think the president is the one who has the ability to stop it, but is not
right.
But is not. So this is the meek, right? This is like the meek are those who carry swords and know how to use them, but choose not to.
Right.
Well, the president's the one who chooses not to. The president's the one who says, "Hey, listen, guys, I know you want to go in there and just like take all this oil or like go get all these people fighting each other and like rile them all up against each other so you can go sell a bunch of guns and bombs and petroleum products to fuel all the tanks and the planes and stuff and have a big war over there, and probably also part of it decrease the population because you're probably eugenicists as well. So we know you want to do that, and we understand that that's your business, and we will support that. It's necessary to have defense, right? Just like I was saying before, it's you have to have a house to protect yourself. You have to have shelter. You have to have protection from the elements, and you have to be able to stand up and defend. You have to have a sword, and you have to know how to fucking use it and be able to use it. But you don't want to. You don't want to have to do that. Right. There's better ways to do stuff. And that's the thing right now is that's so crazy to me is that all these people who are like supposed to be like hippies, they're supposed to be like peace, love, and happiness. These people are wearing fucking rainbows and talking about trans rights. And they're the ones that are supporting people going to blow kids up. Like, it's insane.
But isn't that all part of the demoralization and destabilizing the country and such? So where does that come from? Confusing. Where is that coming from? Because I mean, you can't not talk about the deep state, the managerial class, whatever you want to call them, when talking about the president, wars, things like that, right? So is it just that there hasn't been any presidents that goes against your donors and basically your bureaucrats and such?
As soon as they stand up to them.
Right. But
as soon as the president stands up to them, like John F. Kennedy stood up to them, they're going to, you know, slide that file folder across the desk with a picture of Kennedy that says, hey, you might want to go ahead and sign that.
And just for the record, these pictures aren't necessarily true.
No.
These are straight up.
I don't even know what pictures you're talking about.
Right. Well, the picture that you just spoke of.
I'm not talking
right
about
when you
pictures.
slide over.
I said something about a file.
No.
Yeah, I said you
said take a look at this picture here.
Take a look at this.
And
take a look at this file.
Okay.
Take a look at this information. Just take a look at. I'm just going to write the name JFK, 3 letters on a piece of paper, and slide it across the table. What does that mean?
What makes JFK go along? Because maybe it was a picture, right? Or maybe it was some information. All I'm saying is pictures, informations.
I don't know why that would insinuate any intimidating, you know.
Well, because there was a sway there, right? There was a change. There was a change happening, and change happens when there's some type of what's the word I'm looking
like when there's some sort of like impetus, right? Like some sort of force that moves, a first moving force. That's when change happens,
right? But when someone changes their mind, so
someone changes their mind because
you're playing this game right now with me.
But that's
I'm like, well, I was trying to go off of what you were saying.
Yeah.
But now you just totally changed what you were saying in a way.
What did I change?
Because you were saying, how did the CIA get JFK to change his mind by sliding over this file? And I'm like, okay,
the CIA didn't get
what are the contents of this file?
The CIA did not.
He had a decision, and the CIA said, here's this file.
No.
You might want to change your position on this. Then what were you saying? I must have totally not understood what you were saying.
To JFK, yeah. They didn't.
What's up with this file here? Please explain. Unpack that for me. Because apparently I had it all wrong.
Okay. So what was your original question? Because I was answering your original question. Why do people not stand
Right. Yeah.
up to the
So
deep
we were
state,
talking
right?
about the presidents, right? And we were talking.
Your question was, why do people not stand up to the deep state?
No, I was talking about the president.
Why?
So you were saying the president can stop this. He was the one that's saying no. And I'm basically what I'm saying is, okay, what is Obama? Is he
why do
true
presidents-
warmonger himself? Is he the type of person that he wants war, whether it be for the money, for the power, or whatever? Does he want that, or is he just following along and going with what the powers that be want?
I don't
And then
know.
you turn into JFK. JFK was going to not be that stand up. Did, and then that's when this file came into play.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like I didn't do a very good job of letting you know what I was talking
Clearly.
about, right? Okay. So what was your original?
So we were talking about the presidents, right? And we were talking about war and how they're warmongers. They just want the war. And then we were talking about it, and you said the president has the authority to stop these wars.
I think you were talking about the deep state.
Right.
I think
right.
you were
It ties
talking
into it
about
because we were saying Obama, they're all
bureaucracy or the deep
these
state,
presidents, they were all warmongers, right? Now, is it in their heart that they want to go to war, or is it these powers that we know that be are telling them to do these things? So basically, the whole saying that the president doesn't really run this country.
Yeah.
Right. So now we decide. Now, what do you think? Is like Obama just a warmongering type person, or is he just following orders?
I think it doesn't have to be one or the other. I think that that I don't think that Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, I don't think that necessarily he's like a malicious person who's running around out there trying to find babies to rip their hearts out or something.
No.
Like that,
just
right?
go to war. We're not talking about like really crazy things.
Whatever. I don't think he's out there.
There's a difference between murdering babies like that, countries of war.
I don't think that he's just out there looking for, on his own,
It's not him.
a war. I think what he's looking for is power.
He is, or
money.
the deep state.
He personally is. I think he is a sociopath
Okay.
who wants power. He wants to dominate. He wants to tell people what to believe. He wants to indoctrinate, and he wants to control and manipulate people. I think he wants to do that. He likes to do that. He gets off and is happy when he controls and manipulates people. And I think that he
And you're saying that's what war is?
no, I think that he's doing that like as the war comes into it because he's working for people who offer him all those things
Mm-hmm.
in exchange for keep the war going. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not working for those people. He's not working for like a dude over here. He's working for the idea that war will continue to feed my opportunity to put money in my pocket, to feed my network of nepotism, right? And just put my own people in positions of power. And for me to be able to convince people to go to war, I have to control, I have to manipulate, I have to make them into victims, and I have to create all of this strife and all this chaos in the country in order for me to be able to have the excuse to go to war, right? Like, oh, now we have to do this because we created all these crises. Oh, now we have to give all this money away because, but I don't think that any of it's that. I don't like what I really hate about the right wing. I really fucking hate about the right wing and the conspiracy theories and all this stuff that's like, oh, it's all about the power hungry people that are just out there, right? Like all that shit that I just said. It's not really that Obama is a power hungry manipulating person, right? Like he's just doing what he thinks is the right thing to do. And he thinks that it's okay and even beneficial to lie, to manipulate, to steal, to put his own people in positions of power, to do all those things because he thinks that's the way to create some righteousness in the world.
Right.
He somehow, yes, I think he actually believes
That's a sociopath, right?
that's a sociopath. Yeah. So he thinks that it's okay to do all that stuff because he thinks that, you know, it's like, and it's a very easy thing to fall into, but it's like someone who's just vengeful. It's like someone who's just like, I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm going to go and fuck this person over. Right. Instead of like, well, why don't you just go get what you want? Like, why don't you just go on about your day and like learn from it and maybe like not interact with people like that, or maybe I don't know, maybe help them learn something, even if you're going to take like a super, you know, benevolent kind of path to it. But I think Obama literally, he lies, he manipulates, he backs up, you know, things that he knows are not true. He backs up the media machines and uses all these mechanisms to create that control because he thinks that it's going to create some good in the world. I think a lot of the leftists think that. I think that they're just lost. They just
So
don't.
does the right think that way as well?
I think some of the right goes to the extreme where they just say it's like this person is over there in the corner, like conniving and like, oh, I'm going to go and create all this stuff. Like I'm going to go, you know, instigate a war between Russia and Ukraine. Like, yeah, there's people doing that.
Yeah.
There's some people doing that, but Joe Biden's not doing that. Joe Biden's maybe a puppet for somebody who's doing that, right? Hunter is definitely a puppet for people who are doing that. But I don't think that I don't think most of the people out there are out there like, you know, conspiring and trying to like go to Epstein Island and collect fucking adrenochrome. You know, like I think a lot of that stuff is just crazy talk, like flatter stuff. It's just poison in the well. It's just stuff to make people sound crazy.
Right.
And that's why I really don't like a lot of the far right stuff that's like the Q stuff and all that stuff. I'm like, bro, y'all need to just step down and take a look at the natural wave pattern of communities and societies. Like that's why I like the fourth turning. That's why I really like that PBD episode with Neil Howe, right? For the author of this book, The Fourth Turning, right? So he just had Neil Howe on the podcast last week, and this book is spot on because this is just talking about like every 20 years or so, we have a cycle and we have a generation that's born and acts a certain way. And then they go on to the next cycle and that generation is affected by the environment they're in and they get to, you know, act a certain way. And then you get to the next cycle and it just goes in waves. And it's not like someone sitting here trying to like, I'm going to take over the world. Like Klaus Schwab is not Dr. Evil. It's not that he's not evil. Like he is evil, but he's also a product of his environment. So I think he's also like, it's more important to be aware of the wave function and be aware of the patterns that are coming than it is to like figure out who done it and like point your finger at a specific person and be like, if we just take that person out of the equation, then everything will be all hunky dory. Like that doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It's just a season of life. It's just a pattern. It's a season of life. Like we're going into the winter. This is the perfect example too. Trump's going to get elected. Trump's going to get elected in November. But whether he gets elected or not doesn't matter because this economy, the global economy, is going to crash. It's going to crash like fucking nobody's ever seen it before. And now, are they maybe trying to hold it up for a little while so they can point the finger at Donald Trump and blame him for it? Yeah, for sure. Because they understand that it's a wave function and that they can like hold off that wave a little bit more, a couple more months, then they can actually play the game of politics where they're like pointing at each other and making this what do you call that? Like the zero sum game of social hierarchy. And they can just point at each other and blame and name call and all that kind of shit. And it feeds that. But doesn't matter who the hell's in office. The wave is the wave. It's time. It's been time for a while.
Just let it crash.
It's going to crash. Like if you're trying to surf and catch a wave, what are you going to do? Like try to stop the wave from crashing?
So what's the point in voting?
I mean, the point in voting is
it's just going to happen regardless, right?
No, the point in voting is that like you're going to be able to recuperate maybe in a better way, or you have someone who represents what you think is a better solution, even though that solution is not going to
mean anything.
Not tomorrow, but it's going to mean something in a couple of years. But like you can't just look at the economy and blink your eyes and then suddenly it's fixed.
Oh, right.
Like you have to actually put in a lot of work to fix it. So I think if Trump gets elected, we're going to have a massive crash. I will 100% vote for Donald Trump because any other option would be fucking retarded.
But isn't it going to crash anyways, even if he gets in office or not?
Yeah. But if it's going to crash, would you rather have somebody who can fix it, or would you rather have somebody who's like not just going to make it worse, but like take advantage of it getting worse and throw everyone under the bus and like sell us to the World Economic Forum? Would you rather have that person, or would you rather have a person who's like, all right, well, we're in a fucking situation. Let's go. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and fix it with everybody. I'd rather have that guy.
And that's what Trump's doing.
That's what Trump's going to do. He's making a lot of promises about how it's going to be the greatest thing. And it'll be really great, but it's going to be really great in like 2029. It's not going to be great.
Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight and such, but
it's not even going to be really great probably in 2027. Like it's going to be really great in 2028, 29, 30, 31, somewhere in that neighborhood, because you can't just breathe in and not breathe out.
Facts.
You have to have positive and negative for the world to go around. You have to go through the cycles. So you have to be born, and you have to live, and you have to die. And it's like, this is like everything works in that cycle. You can't escape that in this dimension of existence. Maybe you can escape it in the next dimension, but we have to die to find that out.
Yeah.
But like, you're not going to get around that.
Right.
You're not going to get around that. But what I would rather have on that ocean of chaos that we live in, right, which is the inevitability of those wave functions, like they're going to happen. What I would rather have on that ocean of chaos is a captain who's not a fucking sociopath, who doesn't lie and manipulate and put his own people in positions of power and hold and protect power, but someone who empowers others, someone who gives power, someone who teaches, someone who's there with you, fighting next to you, but also raising and lifting you up. And that's, I mean, I wish to be that one day. I try, to be that as in my own, interactions, to try to be somewhat of an assist to people and help people to raise up and realize dreams, but like, all we can do is try to do that. If we have Donald Trump in office in 2025 and the global economy tanks and all those BRICS nations, for example, say all those BRICS nations take all that revenue away from the petrodollar, and they start trading in yuan and rubles and everything that's on their side, and dinar and all those. So if they go take all that stuff over there, what's going to happen to the US dollar?
It loses value.
So shouldn't we have been on the fucking gold standard a while back?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, when we get to that point, when we get to that breaking point, because it's pretty inevitable, like it's part of the evolution of the world too. Sure. It's almost like, the US created this
this really abundant era. And it wasn't just the US, but the US drove a lot of it because we were kind of like, we kind of led everyone out of World War II into the new liberal world order and everything. And then everything's like, hoop, hoop, hurrah. All right. And that's part of the wave function in that fourth turning, right? That was actually, that's like the 1945 era, if I'm not mistaken, was like the first turning, right? So 46 through 68 or whatever it was like the first turning. And that's when everything was building up and everybody was like, gung ho, yeah, let's go build an entire world of, you know, new airlines and like new international companies and weapons companies and all this kind of shit. And then in order to sustain that, they went through the second turning through like the 70s and the late 60s and got into Vietnam, and they start, you know, going into what was a really plush time for us on this side of the wave function. But it was a hard time for other people. It was a really hard time in Russia for a lot of people. It's a really hard time in a lot of places. In China, they were going through revolution. I mean, it's like, it's a tough time in a lot of places in the world, but it was a really good time for the US. And then the 80s and 90s was kind of like where the demoralization started to happen, right? That's where everything started to kind of degrade and fall apart. And then in 2008, we had to crash. And then from 2008 until now, we've been in the fourth turning. We've been in the crisis turning. And it's not going to end until, they're about 20-year cycles. So it was 2008, so it'll go to about 2028. It might be 2026 if we're super lucky. It might be 2030 if we're not so lucky. I mean, that's just a matter of perspective. If it's a hard time, I'm not worried about that. In fact, if you have some money saved up and maybe it's in gold or maybe it's in a digital currency that might still hold some value, right? Because Bitcoin is more of an international commodity and it's not going to fall with the dollar. In fact, it's probably likely to boost if the dollar tanks. So like if you have some assets to be able to play with during those down times, if there was a Great Depression in 2025, 26, do you know how many fucking houses you're going to be like $500,000 houses, $1 million houses that you're going to be able to buy for pennies on the dollar? So this is an opportunity for people who are ready for it. And for people who understand that, hey, every year has a winter. Every night, every day has a nighttime. So, you know, at some point you got to hunker down. You got to let the cold winds blow. You got to work hard. You got to make some sacrifices, maybe eat some fucking, you know, watermelon instead of tuna or whatever. Like, you know, like you got to make some trade-offs for a little while and make those sacrifices and get through it. And then when you come through the other side, man, by the time you get through the other side, if you're smart, you're in a good spot. That's why Warren Buffett has so much money in cash right now.
Why?
Because he knows he's gonna be ready to buy a bunch of assets. It's kind of a white pill. If you look at it in the full spectrum, it's not a black pill. It's not like, oh shit, it's going to be a bad thing. It's going to be a good thing. And the difficult thing that, you know, if you want Trump to go down in history as remembered as being a great president, stand next to him and fight the good fight over the next 4 years when things go downhill. You know, hold him up as a guy who's there to create solutions, who's there fighting with us. He's not the one that caused it.
No, of course not. But, you know, then again, Joe Biden didn't cause these things either. Obama didn't.
He sure as fuck didn't help. No, he sure as fuck didn't help.
I see what
He
you're saying.
poked
Trump.
the bear.
And,
Poked
you know,
the bear.
I stand behind Trump right now, but, you know, we'll see what he does. We'll see what he does. He says he's not going to, you know, he doesn't want any war. I hope he stays true to that. Right.
I don't have any reason to believe he wouldn't.
Right. And, you know, we can just see if he's truly the man that we feel that he is, and that he is fighting that good fight, you know, but action is going to tell us a lot of things.
You think it was a fake bullet?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
There's people.
Yo,
out
I heard
there
I heard a
saying
stat. It was like
this.
1/3 of Democrats thinks it was staged.
And that's all the people who are running around calling us conspiracy
Right,
theorists
right.
for like talking.
Oh, you know, the mirroring principle is
Oh my
real and in
Projection?
effect.
Yeah.
In effect right now.
Yes.
It was everything. As soon as Joe Biden got so much, people started talking so much, especially when we saw him on the debate, and we can all see it. We all saw it for our own very eyes. The very next day, it's, you know, X is flooded with people talking about, oh, you know, well, Donald Trump 78, you know,
Did you
he needs to have his mental clarity examined.
for sure. Yeah.
And then everything, you know, it's like
Did
now.
you see Kill Tony?
No,
Did you see the Kill Tony with Adam Ray and Shane Gillis
no.
as Trump and Biden dressed up?
I didn't watch that, but
I watched like
I
the
see what you're
intro.
talking about,
I watched the intro of it. I watched like Casey Rocket's performance and then like a little bit of their exchanges and stuff. But and I'll probably go back and watch the rest. I just didn't get to the rest of it. But like Kill Tony sometimes is annoyingly like lefty. Can be, you know, Tony Hinchcliffe can be a little bit grating sometimes, but I just thought it was a massive relief. It made me feel like I was in the 90s again, when you would watch Saturday Night Live and they'd be making fun of the president, no matter who the fuck it was. Like they didn't care. They'd be making fun of Democrats, Republicans. They're just making fun of these people for being, you know, dickhead politicians, because that's all. They're just like a bunch of selfish users.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought it was really funny to be able to have Trump and Biden sitting next to each other at the table, and Biden looking like he's like, who just shit my pants? And Trump sitting there like, you know, Joe, you're stupid. You can't do anything right. You know,
that's the gist of it.
That's the gist of it.
But man, I want to see what Trump's going to do. I started to raise questions in my mind. I want to see who he surrounds himself with.
So okay. Your question about JD Vance.
Yeah, I still have questions about him, right? You know, I don't know either way.
What's your concern though? Can you?
No, it's just like, so, I mean, what do we know about JD Vance?
I don't know much.
He's a young guy, fresh into politics, things of that nature. Who does he run with? Who is his people?
He's a working class guy.
Right.
Like
he portrays himself, his perception, like he gives a perception of such things. But, you know, he's kind of close to a lot of people that gives me reason to be hesitant and weary. Slightly, right? Just to pay attention. I'm not thinking anything negative. I'm not going to get Peter Thiel.
So what's wrong with Peter Thiel?
Well, what do you feel about Peter Thiel? Have you heard of
Peter?
What's the word?
What do you feel about Elon Musk?
Right. This all kind of ties into each other.
I mean, Peter and Elon
and stuff. I love Elon for yeah, of course, PayPal, all that, and later on ventures as well,
right,
and things like that. You know, I like to think that Elon Musk is doing good things, protecting the freedom of speech.
He's doing the
right.
best he can.
Yeah. You know, Twitter and stuff like that.
He's helping.
Now there's
ship stay
conspiracy theories about that. You know, why did he buy Twitter or whatnot? But, you know, if you see who these guys are affiliated with, you know, it would give you
speculation on character. This is all
no, it's not speculation on. I'm not talking about character whatsoever. I'm talking about who they surround themselves, who they are affiliated with.
Speculating on those people who they affiliate themselves with, right?
Right.
You're like, well, so what? So what if they hang out with?
Well, so when we talk about politics, this definitely plays a role in it.
Well, it can, but I mean,
but it does.
You just have to be careful with that.
Right. That's what I'm saying here. Right. I'm not pushing. I'm not saying like, that he was a bad guy. I'm saying
they hang out with Steve Bannon.
Pay attention. Don't think JD Vance is a great guy standing up for the working class just because now Trump brought him on board.
No, I'm saying
why did Trump bring him on board?
I think Trump brought him on board because JD Vance has been a voice for the working class from the beginning. Now, do his actions like back that up? I don't know, because I'm not an attorney, and I haven't gone through and read all of the congressional actions that he's done. I don't know, you know, what he's done over the last 8 years since when he said, you know, anti-Trump stuff or whatever.
We don't know much about him.
So I don't know exactly what he's done. What I feel like about JD Vance is that he's young. He's very young compared to a lot of the politicians in the right. He's 39 years old. So 39 surrounded by a bunch of 50, 60, 70-year-olds. Right? He's in a world of 50, 60, 70-year-olds, and he's just under 40. So he's a young guy. So I think that he's in a situation where he's going to have some decisions to make to really, this is going to be the time when he defines his legacy. Right?
Right.
This is the time for him to step up and define his legacy.
And we'll see what he's about.
If he's over the last 10 years, since he's kind of like come up, and since he was, 29, 30, whenever he got into office, and even bringing himself out of the hillbilly elegy, right, and creating his success, is he a person who will say whatever he needs to say to get wherever he needs to get? Yeah. So fucking what? Does that, like, those type of virtues sometimes are such a trap to success. Like, you don't have to not associate with the snakes in order to like come through the other side as some sort of shining knight. You have to deal with fucking snakes, and you're going to have to, you're going to have to bend to them at some point too. And you're going to have to give and take a little bit to get where you want to get. It's the concept of having to play the system from the inside. You can't just stand up there and go, fuck everybody, this is the only way, and stand. I mean, you're just like, no one's going to make it that way. No one's ever made it that way. Mahatma Gandhi didn't make it that way. Like, you have to play the politics to get where you want to get. And once you get there, this is the moment now for JD Vance. Now that he's there,
right?
What's he going to do?
What are you going to do?
What's he going to do?
What are you going to do? And we shall see. But
we'll see.
We got to pay attention to it.
I ain't paying attention to shit.
Okay. Well, then you can just live amongst all these zombies, bro.
I'm going to fucking zombie land. I'm just going to go wander around Walmart and like eat fucking Raisinets till I'm 600 pounds.
So I think Raisinets.
It's my next goal.
I think Raisinets suck. And if I got to 600 pounds from eating Raisinets, I would probably kill myself. Because I just got to 600 pounds and I did it in a shitty way.
Yeah, my technique is the Raisinette.
Like I would.
It's the Raisinette technique.
You love Raisinets that much?
I don't.
I was about to say that was a terrible example.
I just thought about it because like I walked by a bin of them the other day when I was
at if you would have said ice cream or something like that, I would have been all aboard.
Well, what kind of ice cream though?
Whatever.
Durian ice cream.
No, I'm good on that.
Okay.
I've never had it. I can't. Let's be honest here.
You gotta try it. We gotta get some durian.
Let's do it. I'll do it if it's an ice cream form.
It's usually like a smoothie. I like durian.
I like smoothies. This is ice creamish.
Durian and avocado as a smoothie is really good.
Oh yeah. It's, it gives you texture.
Yeah.
I love texture.
Texture and funk.
I'm okay without the funk so much, but texture. But hey, I like to get a little funky.
I like funk.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of like steak.
But there's hey man, just
like that too.
Just I want to know your thoughts. Look into that guy, man.
JD Vance.
Yeah, just see like I think we should look at these people.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a political pundit that I'm necessarily going to be. I mean, I like to talk about this stuff and I like to, wax philosophical about what's going on and everything, but I don't know how much time. I would rather devote the time to like reading John Maxwell books on leadership and like going to the gym and like building businesses and focusing on proactive stuff than going down someone's, fucking CIA file on all of their dossier of every fucking action that they've done. I'm not into going down those rabbit holes and like doing that kind of stuff. Like I don't want to go investigate people's backgrounds and figure out why they're corrupt. I just don't see the point. For me, I would rather grow people. I would rather focus on like building positive inspiration, building mechanisms and like media, like building more content like this to be able to inspire more people, to be able to grow stuff in a proactive, positive way. Because I think that's why I like Trump, because he wants to bring manufacturing back to US. He wants to bring He wants to tax people who are just importing stuff. He wants to bring accountability back. He wants to actually have the tough conversations, right? And like, that's so much more valuable to me than trying to figure out why somebody's done the wrong thing somewhere. I don't really give a shit. They can run around in the dark and do all their CIA tactics, and they can fucking do all their little man on the grassy knoll, and they can, they can go assassinate JFK and Malcolm X and MLK and all of them. But the darkness is never going to win. Why? Because the light is always producing more light.
Always.
Yeah. So that's what I would prefer to focus on, producing more light.
Yeah, but so basically what I'm coming from, right? And I'm talking about, hey, when somebody surrounds himself with certain people, you want to look at those people, because unless you are 100% sure factually
I'm gonna delegate that.
that people are who you think they are, right?
Yeah.
So unless you can be
They'll show
without a doubt, yeah, exactly,
They'll
right?
show
And
you.
that's all I'm saying is we're seeing and stuff like that. But you want to be ready to receive and interpret this information when it comes to light, right?
Yeah.
When these actions happen, you want to be like, oh, so that because their actions are going to be painted in a different light, right? Their actions, even if it's nefarious or even if it is, has some, bad intent to it, they're going to make it look like it's for the better good. So in order to be able to decipher all this is going to have a lot to do with your inner self. And it's also going to have a lot to do with the information that you have, so you can see it in a better light, so to say, right? So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying, hey, JD's corrupt. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm saying who is this guy?
Yeah,
who is this guy, right?
You want
and
to
I feel like I support Donald Trump all the way, right? I'm a supporter of Donald Trump right now, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go all in on somebody, because especially when I have something inside me tells me, hey, just pay attention to some shit.
You know who you sound like?
Look at some shit.
Please
tell me something good.
You sound like me 6 months ago when you were talking about Vivek. Remember?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, have you looked into that guy?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Background? What's going on?
I did.
He sounds great. Everything looks good.
I did.
What happened with Vivek?
What do you mean?
He's fucking dope, right?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He's proven himself to be.
Yeah. So far, yeah. He's
although like so far also it is all just talk, right?
But also too, what piqued my interest on Vivek, and also what piques my interest towards Donald Trump, is all going back to what we were talking about kind of at the beginning of all this, was the whole art of politicking and just politics in itself, right? There was something different. It's a breath of fresh air. They're not career politicians. They might appear to be, because they're intelligent individuals, and they can play the game. You have to play the game, right? It's the game that it is. So you can't go and play a basketball game
with your
when
foot.
You're ready to play golf.
You can't.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you can't bring your golf clubs to the basketball court, or a basketball to the golf course.
Correct.
Right. So you got to play the game. That's the way you're going to win.
And they're playing the game.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the difference between, that's what I liked about Trump. That's what I liked about Vivek. But JD Vance is not that.
Is not what?
He's a career politician. Now,
is he?
Now, I mean, he's a senator.
Yeah.
So he's a politician. He's in a but nevertheless,
it took him.
He is.
Yeah, he just got there.
However, he is.
He is.
He was like, this is what I'm gonna do with my life.
So, what were the other choices?
What do you mean?
For V? Other than Vivek, because Vivek is
okay.
Vivek's a non sequitur, because Vivek would never work.
I mean, what was it? Was it the odds that like? Do we really know who was the finalist to be VP Trump? I mean, we know what the media was telling us. We know what we were being told. Those were his finalists.
Right.
I mean, who was it? It was gonna be JD Vance,
Doug Burgum.
It was gonna be Burgum. It was gonna be the other.
Tulsi was talked about.
Tulsi was one, stuff like that.
Tulsi,
but then you could have had right.
Burgum is much more of a career politician.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Okay,
Definitely.
Who are the rest of them? Look at all the rest of them and tell me which one was the least of a career politician. Other than Vivek.
was
like
Tucker Carlson an option?
I don't think Tucker was ever.
That
a
was an
serious
idea.
option. I think Tucker.
He never agreed to, but
No.
maybe he just didn't want to do shit. But maybe that was an option
No,
in his
I
mind.
think Tucker Carlson. I think Tucker Carlson is counterintelligence tool. I think that he's a very good counter-revolutionary in the intelligence world. I think he's very good at countering all of the misinformation and disinformation, psychological operations. He's very good at knocking all that stuff down. He's like the dome missile defense system for information, right? And that's what people like him, like Tim Pool, PBD, all these guys are out there that are knocking down all of the misinformation and disinformation because they're defending us in a psychological G5 war.
Yeah.
Right.
And those are actions. Those are actions that I like to see.
So I think if Tucker were given something like maybe press secretary or something,
definitely. There's a place for him, but I don't come up with some other ideas.
I don't think even as press secretary, Tucker would be better in an
he's not a good press secretary.
He'd be better in an advisory role than he would be in a public speaking role, where he's going to actually have to, because they're going to trap him with emotion. They're going to fuck with him to be able to get him in. And he's also going to have to lie. Like, you have to lie. At some point, you have to run interference. You're going to have to bend the truth a little bit here and there to be able to accomplish the goals, right? Which is what I was saying about all of
playing the game.
And if you play the game the right way with the right intentions, and you just kind of like touch on those, crossovers as just as barely needed, I don't know that Tucker's going to be the guy to do that, especially at the place he is in life right now. I think he's in a really truthful place in life. He's in a very open and vulnerable place in life. So I think that he's perfect where he's at.
Yeah.
I think he needs to be right where he's at. If you move Tucker, it's like moving Ron DeSantis. I think DeSantis I don't think DeSantis was ever a serious contender.
Right.
And I think that his run for presidency was a tactic to pull him out of the question early on. He's not going to be president. He's not going to be VP. He's going to be pulled out of the situation early on. Tactically, they're going to go strategically. They're going to go, hey, let's do this poorly run campaign and make you look like a jackass so that you can stay in Florida and run Florida for another, how much does he have left? 2-3 years?
Yeah, something like that.
But he can stay there for another couple of years and then, maybe be able to find or build or promote the next guy that can take over, guy or girl that can take over for that position. But at least he's in there for the first few years, because I don't think any of them are stupid either. I think they know the crisis is going to hit. They know, they're like, you have to know, like, if you're paying attention to the rhythm of things at all.
Yeah.
Like, COVID wasn't it. And COVID should have been way worse than it actually panned out to be. It was like a practice run. The actual run, whatever it is, the avian bird flu, the World War III, North Korea blasting off a bunch of fucking nukes, who knows?
Iran's coming into the picture again.
Iran coming into the picture.
Which is basically the Middle East. The Middle East, we always have. For some reason, we always want to continue. We always want to continue conflict with the Middle East, man. We just go right back to them. I guess maybe because of the oil or some shit. Or maybe their ideology over there. I'm not sure, but we always
easy to fuck with.
Are they?
They're easy to get to start a fight.
Yeah.
It's easy to go over there and start a fight with them.
Yeah. They're ready.
All you have to do is go over there and talk some shit about their.
You just gotta be like LGBTQ, bitch.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be like, "What'd you say to me?" Yep.
Like,
you heard me.
You're gay.
I was like, your mom's gay, bitch.
Your dad's gay. You're fucking, your mullah, your imam, he's fucking gay. And then,
But you know what? You can't, like, okay, so Middle Easterns, man, when they can't be underestimated, right? Because these guys, when we were talking about beliefs, and shit like that, these people have belief like you would never see. There's no level of believing in something so much that can rival the beliefs that these Middle Eastern people do, bro. They're ready to die for their shit. They're ready to sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice for their shit without question, right? And that takes a certain type of will.
Christians need some more of that.
These guys, they're something different.
That's
is all I'm
probably,
saying.
I would imagine
They're very dangerous.
in the next little turning here that we see, like it's probably what we're going to see, because in the
See what?
in the Judeo-Islamic Christian tradition, the only one who still has tolerance is the Christians.
Yeah.
Right? The
And
Jews,
that's turned out to be a weakness.
it is, yeah. The Jews went to Zionism. They went to the extreme faction, yeah. And then the Muslims went to the Islamists, right, which are the extremist factions. So I think what you're going to see is you're probably going to see a rise of that Christian nationalism, and you're going to start to see groups. So there's that one that's the Patriot Front, right?
Yeah.
That everyone says is a Fed psyop or whatever. Did you see the interview with the guy?
Yep.
You think they're a Fed?
It's a possibility.
I think there's probably a couple Feds embedded in that organization, but I don't think that they are they're not like a Governor Whitmer plot. They're not. That guy is not a Fed. That guy is not a Fed.
Well,
that guy's not in there.
But you don't have to be a Fed.
Now, he might be an asset.
Yeah.
He's an asset.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's a very different thing, because an asset like that can also get out of control, right? An intelligence asset like that that's running a big organization, maybe they're just running the line out on him, and
they almost
go with it.
They almost seem like a joke, though, right? You know, you saw their altercation with the Proud Boys, was it?
Yeah, be careful with that, though.
What?
Seeming like a joke.
Yeah.
You never underestimate the opponent, you know?
Yeah. The only reason I'm saying is, like,
I
see, you know, they're jumping on the scene, right? And so they seem to carry themselves with purpose, some type of level of power, I want to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, however, you know, when that was attacked a little bit, you know, I didn't see any fight in them, right?
They didn't fight back, no,
not at all. And as a matter of fact, they were like tormented a little bit and just kept walking on their way, like they didn't want to have anything to do with an altercation.
Right.
When I just see that, right, you can see it and you can be like, okay, you know, this is a group of people that just, you know, really aren't that aligned and strong together, or they are what we were just talking about, right?
Yeah.
They're just, and
well, I think
they're fake.
I don't think they're fake, for sure. I think they're a bunch of people who are grouped together.
And well, when I mean fake, I mean not being what they're really saying they are, and being a FBI
They're not
psyop.
They're not the Proud Boys,
okay.
Right? They're not the Proud Boys.
Well, clearly,
yeah, or any of those other Fed groups, right? Because that's what I see the Proud Boys as is the Proud Boys are they're the coin flip of Antifa, right? They're not necessarily government sponsored, but they're buddies. They're the brown shirts and the black shirts, right? One of them is Mussolini's black shirts, and one of them is the brown shirts in Germany that were the I think those were the anti-fascist groups, right? That were intimidating people and not letting them speak out, and that's who those people are. They're just the extremist groups that are either driving up the momentum or they're stopping the forces that assuage the momentum, right? That assuage the extremism. They want to stop neutrality and they want to push extremism. Both of those. So the Patriot Front guys, I think, fall into the same kind of category. And I don't think that they are, I think they're an organically occurring group of people who have a specific type of worldview that's very white centric, obviously. And so that can just be looked at as an asset that's there to be used whenever it's needed.
Right.
So whenever they need to, then those FBI plants that are in there, they can drum up whatever they want to drum up.
Right.
Yeah. And if they never do that, there's still the potential for that same extremist sentiment to occur naturally within that group.
Yeah.
Right. It's still that potential energy is still there. if an FBI agent or whoever, somebody goes in and instigates it and actually activates that group, that's one thing. If it just happens naturally, it's the same thing. It's just coming from a different source,
Right.
you know? So I don't think they're like the Governor Whitmer plot was conniving. That was just evil. Like that was almost all FBI. It was like what, 15 guys and like 10 of them or 12 of them were FBI. It was like, they just took like 3, 4, 5 guys and they're like, hey, let's go kidnap the governor. We'll drive. Here's the plan. Here's this, here's that. Like they're just completely entrapment. That was just like awful. Those are just awful people. But I don't think the whole thing is like that. I think that maybe what's left of it now is getting to be like that. But like those agencies, there's probably not a lot of good people left in them because they all, you know, can't take it anymore.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that the agency itself is bad. It's like, that's like having a crime family take over, you know, an orphanage and turn it into a whorehouse, right? Like you can also take that house, kick out all the prostitutes and turn it back into an orphanage, right? To kick out all the prostitutes, go get a bunch of nuns and put them in there and like take care of some kids and do the right thing. So you can actually take the FBI, get all the shitheads out of there, and then actually put good people back in there. But this is what a lot of people are worried about JD Vance with, because JD wants to keep some of that deep state mechanism in there with that exact line of reasoning. He doesn't want to totally eradicate. He's not the Afuera guy. He's not going to go in there and Javier Milei the entire fucking government, which is what Vivek wants to do, which is what a lot of us, I think, want to do. But he has a point in that can just be reactionary. That might just be reactionary. And you don't always want to just react. You want to be proactive.
Reacting is, we've been reacting to it. But I mean, so Vivek talks about, you know, it's past a point of repair, right? So yeah, there's good people in there doing good, honest work and stuff like that. But the entity itself is,
but that's what I'm saying, is that the entity itself is just a bunch of letters,
right? And when you
corrupt.
but when you take people out and you put people in, it's who are you putting in there now? But so I mean, whomever it was that.
Do you think?
So whomever it was that corrupted the FBI,
was it corrupt from its inception? Was it always?
But that's what we're talking about, right?
Then
you just say that, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure you will. But when you're saying that, you know, it's basically not the FBI is the problem; it's the corrupt people that's in it. Right. So I can only assume that you're kind of implying that it was not set up corrupt, and just corrupt people took it over.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, with that being said, it's like, you know, you can either cancel this thing out, but still have the purpose that the FBI does, right? But it's not good. It's not good. The entity is now gone, because if the entity is still there, right, then apparently that entity was able to be corrupted.
So, but what is it? What do you think? Like, okay, so what I think is corrupting the organizations like that is the proximity to other branches of governance, right? The Federal Bureau of Investigation needs to be independent from the congressional investigative committees, the executive branch. It needs to.
So then it have to be what, a private company,
independent from the judicial branch. No, this is the difficult thing, because we're all people and we all talk to each other and some of us know each other, but you don't want to have nepotism between, you know, a branch,
right,
and the investigative branch of a law execution. So like, then you're going to have people corrupt together who are just going to say, I don't like this person, so we're just going to team up and we're going to, right, what they're doing to Trump right now is exactly that. So in order to avoid that, what do you have to do? You have to have some sort of separation of powers. You have to have some sort of separation of the organization. And I'm not studied enough to be able to go into the minutia of like how that organization's set up.
Yeah.
And maybe Vivek is right that we need to tear it completely down and then create a different organization.
Yeah, but see, well, like,
That's
it made a lot of sense because, you know, he pointed out the problem, but then offered a solution to every single one of them.
So what was the solution?
And they
to the
sounded good.
FBI?
You know, you would just do away with the FBI. You know,
So
you
who's
know,
gonna
you have federal investigators.
So who's going to investigate serial killers?
I mean, you have other, like, why do we need, okay, so why do we need all these different types of policing agencies and such?
How are you going to get rid of all the immigrants?
So there you go. Well, you have a military, right? You also have U.S. Marshals.
The military
right?
is only
You also
for
have
the military is only
to
for
defend the country, which is defending the country from an invasion of illegals. So it's defending the country.
That's
Nevertheless.
I don't know. That's a
Well, no. Well, so what we talk, we all agree this is the invasion that we're on right now,
How
right?
do you tell who's who?
Because you vet people, right? You allow people in that you want to allow. You just allow everybody in. When everybody is just, and it's not even like a system anymore, right? It's just people rushing the border and shit like that. That's definitely not the way you go about it, you know. But, you know, in a way, that's what the border is, right? It's to protect your country.
It's a filter, yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, there again, that's why, you know, Vivek was always saying, Biden wanted, Congress wanted to pass the bill and call it the border bill to protect the border. And it was like,
Right.
You don't need a bill to protect the border.
But we're on a different topic. We were talking about the Federal Bureau of Investigation and why it needs to be.
But that led us to what we're talking about right now.
How so? What does that have to do with anything?
Because you just said I'm saying we don't need the FBI as an entity. And you were saying we do. And then I was saying and then you asked me how we're going to protect the border. And I said the military.
No.
You said the military is defending the country. And I'm saying that's what we're doing.
I did not say.
But that's how that conversation
I
went.
did not say the border. I didn't say anything about
you were like,
I said, how are we going to remove the illegals? Yeah.
That is not play it. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's get to the bottom of it right now.
We got to stop recording and go back and play. You can't just rewind it.